So what do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, we have plenty.
I think Joshua was supposed to join too.
All right, it's just 1 minute after, so we can hold on for.
And actually, since I have all you, I'll read this statement. But I just want to remind everybody that we really, especially, first of all, welcome all. I see new faces. Great to have you guys, and we're going to do some intros and stuff. So congratulations and welcome. And I'll say that again when we actually meet. But you know, reminding people to actually state your name when you speak. For the benefit of everybody. So just try to remember that. Hi, Sarah. Welcome. All right. So are you rolling, Kurt? Yeah. Okay. Mr. Chair, we're ready to start.
All right. Let's call the meeting to order. I have 7:02. And the first order of business is to approve the minutes.
Jerry, if you'd let me do the intro first.
Oh, you're going to do the thing. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you and good evening, everybody, and welcome to our 3 new Lawrence Cultural Arts Commissioners. We're really happy to have you. This meeting is being recorded and broadcast on the city's YouTube channel and Public Access Channel 25. During the meeting, please mute yourself by clicking on the microphone icon found on the lower left-hand side of the Zoom menu next to the video icon. When you are muted, a red line will appear over the icon. Muting your microphone during the meeting will make it easier for everyone to hear. You'll just have to remember to unmute if and when you want to speak. In some cases, I may mute or unmute people as needed. Each time you speak, please remember to state your name and if you have a title or affiliation you want to say, for the benefit of those listening remotely. That's really important. I just want to remind everybody, say your name as you speak, each time you speak, so people know who you are. In the menu, you can also turn your camera on or off by clicking the video icon, and for the purposes of this public meeting, please keep your video on during the meeting. If you're participating by phone, you can click *6 to unmute your phone. And I think everybody's probably familiar. There's gallery and speaker view that you can switch back and forth during the meeting to see either the active speaker or the whole gallery like the good old Brady Bunch. So I'll turn it back to you, Jerry. Thank you.
Thank you, Porter, for giving us the lowdown on how we do this now. All right, so any thoughts on the minutes? I did not have any changes to them. They're really complete and nicely done. Thank you to Christina for
thank you
faithfully doing that for us.
This is Clint. I move to approve.
Yeah.
This is Denise. I second.
All right. All in favor? Aye.
Actually, go ahead, please do a roll call. Again, we need that audio version. Can you do a roll, Jerry?
Okay. Jerry, aye. Mary?
Aye.
Christina?
Aye.
Denise?
Aye.
Kate?
Aye.
Clint?
Aye.
Marlo?
Aye.
Joshua?
Thank you.
You bet. Speaking of roll calls, should we just do one all the way around, or should we introduce the new folks first and then?
Again, I'm excited, so I can dive in and then have them introduce themselves, and then you all introduce yourselves. Does that work for everybody?
That'd be great. Thanks, Porter.
So yeah, I'm very pleased. I was really excited to get the letters. We have 3 new Lawrence Cultural Arts Commissioners. I had some interaction with James, who was emailing me and asking about the Art Commission. And I'm really excited to have him on board because he is a musician, and I'm not sure we've had many musicians on the Cultural Arts Commission, so that's a good thing. And I have not met Jordan or Sarah yet personally, but we'll hear back from them tonight. So I'm just really happy, excited that they're here. And if you're willing, Jordan, I had your name first. Are you willing to do just a brief intro and anything you want us to know about you?
Yeah, so hello everyone. My name is Jordan Martinez. I'm a 2020 graduate of Gonzaga University with a degree in music education. So I'm really happy that there's another musician. I specialize in choir, and my voice part is mezzo-soprano. I'm very excited to be on this panel, and thank you for having me. Really excited.
Welcome. James, I had you next.
Hi, everyone. My name is James Alexander. I'm a graduate student at KU studying cello performance. I'm originally from Michigan, and I'm also excited to be on this board. Thank you for having me. And I just like to see how I can help out, helping out the arts in these times. So thank you again.
Welcome. And Sarah.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I use they, them pronouns. I'm non-binary. And I'm also a 2020 KU graduate from the Women, Gender, and Sexuality Studies Department with a minor in visual art. And I'm originally from St. Louis and Brooklyn, New York. So I'm really excited to get to know you guys. I got to be involved in the St. Louis art scene, and I'm really excited to work on the one that's here.
Great. Welcome. Thank you.
All right, great. Well, it's nice to have a full house. It's been a while since we've had all of our spots full. So welcome to you all, and I look forward to you all getting plugged into some of the different things that we do here, and look forward to working with you. So thanks for being willing to serve the community in the cultural arts area. We really appreciate it. I'm Jerry Johnson. I'm the chair for this year of the commission. I've been on the commission since 2013. Wow. I too am a musician, and have been around the local music scene for a while, although more when I was younger than now. But anyway, so that's my my background here. So, Mary.
Ooh.
I'm gonna go across how you all appear on my screen. So you follow me, Mary.
Okay. I'm Mary Doveton. I'm the Executive Director of Theater Lawrence, and looking forward to working with all you.
All right, Christina is next.
I'm Christina Walker. I'm the Director of Education at the Spencer Museum of Art. I think I'm in my 5th year on the commission, and I'm also the secretary.
Denise?
Hi, I'm Denise Stone. I'm recently retired from KU, and I was at KU teaching visual art education.
All right. Kate?
I'm Kate Deneen. I am also a musician, played bass with the Topeka Symphony for many years, still play bass off and on for the Art Center, and I'm also an artist blacksmith. You will be rid of me in December. I'm almost done with my 2 terms.
No.
Catch me while you can.
Excuse me.
Clint?
My name is Clint Paw. I am the development director. I'm with KU Endowment, development director for the School of Architecture and Design at KU. Prior to that, I spent 17 years at the Nelson Atkins as lighting designer, and still do a lot of lighting design on the side. I've been on the commission, I think, starting my 3rd year.
I think that's right.
Okay, Clint. Marlo?
My name is Marlo Angel, and I work in marketing at the Lawrence Art Center, and I direct the Free State Film Festival, which is a film, music, art, and ideas festival outside in the Art Center and in different venues around town. And then I'm also a filmmaker as well.
Joshua.
Joshua Fallleaf. I'm currently Dean of the College of Humanities and Arts at Haskell Indian Nations University. I'm an enrolled member of the Delaware Tribe of Indians out of Bartlesville, Oklahoma. And I've been on the commission for some years, many years. And then I have an MFA in creative writing with an emphasis in poetry, although my writing tends towards memos and public statements of what's going on in Haskell these days. But yeah, happy to meet you all.
All right. I think we covered the boxes there.
Jerry, if I may, I just want to let the 3 new members know that I'll be in touch. And we'll set up an orientation meeting. That'll be the next step. So I can give you some more information about the Art Commission and give you some orientation and also answer any questions you may have as we go forward. So bear with me a little bit, but I'll get in touch with each of you and figure out, well, we can do it by Zoom and I can just share a screen and show you some of the links and things on our webpage. So think about questions you may have and I'm happy to answer those as we go further. I will be in touch.
Do you want to say who you are, Porter? And
That's a really good idea after I tell everybody else to do it, isn't it? My name is Porter Arneill. I'm the Director of Communications and Creative Services for the City of Lawrence. And I too have an MFA in art, although I have not practiced as an artist in many years, but I still dabble here and there and work with my daughter on things too. And I've been here with the city for just over 5 years now. Came from Kansas City where I was running the art commission there and also the public art program for the city of Kansas City. So yeah, I'm excited to have all these new faces as we move forward in this very unusual time. And now Clint is upside down inexplicably. Leave it to Zoom.
So weird.
Clint, you're hanging. Literally. Okay, so looking at the agenda, new business is blank, but you know, maybe actually we have some new business. We did introduce the new appointees. The next thing I have on the list is an update on the Final Fridays planning with Explore Lawrence. Is that going to happen?
Yeah, let me just give, it's going to be very brief. So if you all remember, Explore Lawrence made a presentation last week. Michael was encouraging us to keep Final Fridays on the radar screen. Kimberly Anspach and I met and talked about sort of what we can do in that vein. She put together a simple survey that she's going to get out to her list of Final Friday participating venues to glean information from them about their thoughts, what they're thinking about doing for Final Fridays, that type of thing. And then our plan is to bring that back to the Arts Roundtable in the near future and have bigger conversations about what people are thinking. So basically not saying we're going to do this directly, but getting ideas from others and sharing ideas so that people can think about how they might want to move forward in the near future with Final Fridays in the safest possible way.
Go ahead, Kate.
Porter, I just wanted to suggest that you send out the Arts Roundtable invitation to all of the new folks on the board if they can join in. It usually happens, well, usually, in the past, it would happen at noon on the same Wednesday that we would have these meetings. But lately we've been meeting every 2 weeks. We met last Wednesday, we'll be meeting next Wednesday. But if you get on the email list, then you can join. And doing it by Zoom, it makes it easy. It's at noontime and goes for about an hour and a half. And it's a fabulous place to make connections with other arts organizations. And it's really good for the Lawrence Cultural Arts Commission to have at least one person there. At the moment, myself and Marlo show up fairly frequently. So, and it's just great to get more information about what's going on. There's some really cool stuff going on in the city, even now.
Even now, thanks. So I did want to say, because I don't venture out too much these days, but I did actually go to a restaurant on last Saturday, and I ate outside with my wife and my daughter, and I was shocked at the street traffic and the number of people who were out and being careful, wearing masks, but enjoying Mass Street in a way that sans masks wouldn't have looked, a whole lot different, except for all the outdoor spaces that have been created by some of the establishments downtown. And one of the things that I was, sort of, I don't know, worried about when Michael and those folks, when he was presenting, the idea was, how would that go? And I guess my point is after being downtown last weekend in the evening, I don't know, maybe we could pull it off. Maybe it could happen. Again, I don't know if people would go inside anywhere, of course, but if we, I don't know. I think it has a chance if we did it outside. We, the community, you know what I mean? My 2 cents after venturing out of doors one weekend.
Can I ask a question? This is Mary. Is there a final Friday date in mind? We're not trying for September, are we? Kate, was that the sense of the group? They're trying for September?
Isn't that right, Porter? I was pretty sure they're trying for September. There are a number of activities happening on September, the final Friday in September. And
yeah, we have
the Friends of Lawrence Area Trails are doing a get out on the loop thing and take pictures and send them in. There are other groups doing stuff. I'm pretty sure Explore Lawrence was looking for that. Am I wrong, Porter?
This is Porter Arneill. I would say that, reminding everybody,
we don't program Final Fridays. So we have to keep reminding folks that that's not on us. So individual venues, from what I've heard, a few are thinking about doing some, and I'm interested in hearing what Mary's thinking about. I think Michael is interested in, as soon as possible. I think we agreed that we weren't going to try to push this necessarily for August or September, but if some venues are choosing to do it with safety precautions in place, that's not for us to say yay or nay to. That's up to them, really. That makes sense.
Well, I'm interested because we're opening our season next week with Rounding Third, which is a baseball show, and we're going to be doing it outside on the outdoor stage in the parking lot and using pods for social distance seating out there. So, we can probably do some sort of art as well, but I just need to know if we're aiming for September or October for this.
I have, at least, I'm glad Jerry has gotten out. It's good to hear. I have similarly ventured out here and there, as is appropriate, and taken all the necessary precautions. I've actually become more careful and less inclined to go out or do anything because the number of cases, the spikes that continue to grow. And I know I can take all the precautions I have, but clearly there's a good portion of our population who aren't taking those precautions, and thereby increasing the spread. And so I'm glad we don't have to say yay or nay on some of these things, but I I'm certainly extraordinarily cautious, and increasingly so these days, until something changes, until that curve flattens or whatever. So my 2 cents on that one.
From the Art Center's perspective, we're doing a virtual event on September Final Friday. So we have that really cool 50-foot scratchboard whale. If you haven't seen it, it's incredible. And we're doing an artist talk that day at 5 o'clock with the artist. And it's virtual because he's from out of town, and we're streaming that as our big event. So it's a physical destination thing, but you're welcome to come to the galleries afterwards if you want. But really our push is on that virtual event.
And how do we tune into that, Marla, the virtual event?
It'll be on YouTube Live and the Art Center's channel, and also Facebook Live. So we'll push it out to both venues, and we'll have a website with an embedded video as well with our exhibitions page on the main Art Center homepage.
Great, thanks.
And Marlo, just to help others too. So basically you'll work with Kim at Explore Lawrence, and Kim will then
put that into their Final Fridays marketing. So Mary, to answer your question, I don't know if we're really saying September, October is the date, but if you want to do Final Fridays, Explore Lawrence will market it. I think what we're hearing is there's a lot of different approaches being explored. One is obviously virtual. I think Kim had been talking to Phoenix Gallery that's trying to figure out how they can do some things social distanced in their space and only allow certain people in, maybe do something on the sidewalk, I don't know. So part of this was really about getting people together to share ideas about what they can do and things that they're doing to adapt to the situation. So I'm trying to convey it's not a hard and fast do it this time, but if that works with Theater Lawrence and you want to do something and promote that way, then Kim can set that up.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
One more thing that's kind of interesting, the Art Center, we're part of that Rebuilding East 9th grant, and there's a big kind of celebration for the final projects on October 3rd. So it's in conjunction with Elna's street party that they do every year, and it's going to be very socially distant, conscious, doing an outdoor film screening at the Cider Gallery of the short film that I did about the wishing bench. And I know there's like different pockets. There'll be like a map of art that you can kind of walk through and experience socially distanced from everybody and not like really expected to sit in a gallery indoors, but more like moving through outdoor spaces. So that's the Saturday, I think, after Final Friday, because it's the first week of October. But that could be a really good testing ground to see how that works and if people are mobile. And I know like for the film screening, we're really staffing it just to make sure everybody stays in their pods, kind of like how Mary was talking about having 6-foot little chalk markings to make sure everyone stays distant and making sure everyone has their masks on and really being super conscious about experiencing art safely.
Yeah, we're doing.
It's on October 3rd, the Saturday for that. And people are talking about having kind of a mapped parade route that you can go on to see everything, because everything's kind of in a general vicinity. So it would be easy to walk or skate or wheelchair or whatever you want to do, and kind of see a lot of the stuff that's been going on. So that's something to check out on the 3rd of October. I think, is it 5 to 10, Marlo?
I think so. I think that's like when the Elna party starts at 5. And then I think a lot of maybe the art stuff is happening around 7-ish. That's what I thought. But I think it's 5 to 10.
I'm chiming in because hopefully, if we get the baseboard, our sculpture will be up at the New York Elementary School for their 150th anniversary, which was one of the projects that was chosen.
Nice. You got a comment, Porter?
The only thing I was going to add is that Kim is going to bring this information to Arts Roundtable next week, and I appreciate Kate reminding me to get the word out to all of you, but also our new members, so that you guys can chime in and hear more about what people are thinking about Final Fridays and stuff. So it's, you know, it's a work in progress, and that was the goal, was just to stir up a good conversation and things. And I'm thinking that, you know, by bringing a group of creatives together, people are going to have a range of ideas about things that can be done. And yeah, to emphasize safety, we have to all abide by the health department and the orders that are out there now. So it's within the keeping of all of that too.
Anything else, Mary?
I was just going to say, we're experimenting. Everything that we've done this summer so far has been drive-in theater, where people have stayed in their cars and then had the sound broadcast over an FM radio station. And this time we're going to invite people to venture out of their cars, and we are painting blue circles all over the parking lot. They're 10-foot pods, and there will be 6 to 8 feet of space between your pod and the next pod. Each pod can accommodate up to 4 people, but it will just be your party. So if you and a friend come, it will be 2 people in a pod. If you come by yourself, you'll have the whole 10-foot pod. If you want to bring 3 other friends, it will be 4 people. But we're going to try that and just kind of see how it works this time.
Now, Mary, I'm asking for a friend, not personally, but can you bring a cooler to your pod, or is that?
Yeah, you can bring we also have adult beverages for sale, so we can satisfy many thirsts.
All right, great.
And a baseball show would not be complete without popcorn and beer.
There you go.
That's right. So are there chairs in these pods, or can you bring your lawn chair?
Bring your lawn chair.
Great.
All right. Anything else on Final Friday planning or, you know, associated sort of events? All right. So the next thing was the culture chat update. How do we want to do this, Porter? Marlo and I put together the email that we sent you. Can we put that up, or do we have that to?
I can put it up for you if you'd like.
Yeah, if you don't mind.
No,
It'd be easier to talk to. So you all will remember from the last meeting, and I think even before that, we had talked about culture chat and how we were going to handle it, or how we might be able to leverage the idea during COVID. So I took an action item to put together kind of an outline or whatever. Of course, I put together the outline, and it had all of the negative impacts. And then I sent it to Marlo for her comments, because she was involved in the idea early on. And she put all of this positive creative light on this. So I appreciate her inputs and positivity associated with this. But anyway, so the idea was, you know, if we did a culture chat, how we might focus it on, you know, arts and culture in the pandemic or whatever. So the goal, at the risk of just reading this to you, I will read the first part, but to provide a moderated space. I think Porter had volunteered. If not, I'm going to ask him if he would help us with finding the moderator for this if we're successful in putting this thing together. But anyway, to generate positive ideas on how artists, organizations, community can creatively lessen the impact of the pandemic on arts and culture. And there were some ideas, really good ideas, tossed out by folks. Marlo, Kate, Clint had good ideas about things like the loop, storefront windows, you know, just in general creative programming ideas, digital access to art, you know, so that we can do it remotely and safely and all of that type of stuff. So
the idea would be, to have a culture chat where we brainstorm on those sorts of things. And then keeping in mind, and we had also talked about the funding stuff because that's been heavy on our minds since the 3 or 4 large institutions in Lawrence came to us with their presentation on the financial impacts. That's been a heavy topic of discussion for this group. So we wanted to give also a nod to that as far as possible topics go. And then the list of the dark list, which Jerry came up with, the list of negative impacts, things that we could focus those positive and creative ideas on to overcome. And these are a summary of things that have been brought to us over the last few meetings. But lack of events, participation, shared experience loss, the financial threats or impacts threatening, in fact, the existence of some of our institutions. Volunteer participation, folks like myself who haven't been willing to get out a whole bunch. And then just, protecting our valued arts and culture. I mean, it's obviously this group feels strongly that that's part of our community, and how do we protect those folks, the artists, enthusiasts, the institutions and events. Some of the events, are big parts of the community, and they're postponed or having to be done in way different ways. And so anyway, the idea was to see if we could use our the cultural chat, our culture chat type events, to get folks together to brainstorm on these types of things. So that's what we put together. I just open it to the group for discussion.
I have just one brief comment. Having taught college English for 10, 15 years or so, I'm having a hard time understanding under ideas, lacking punctuation, what goes with what, or how those, what sort of parallel structures those might be, or how those are. I don't know. Maybe I'm being.
Hey, Joshua, that's not how it looks on my sheet.
Really?
Yeah. So maybe there was a formatting thing, but
yeah, maybe in some transference or something.
See where leverage is capitalized?
Yeah.
On my sheet, there's a carriage return there.
Oh, okay. Well, that would.
And then brainstorm. That would be the next line.
Yeah. Oh, well, that I kind of get that. Yeah. Well, and then outside of that, then I'm just being a stickler on parallelism and beginning each of those lines with verbs and such. But that's irrelevant once that gets cleared up. Sorry.
Well, listen, if you want to get together and grade this with me and help me.
Well, one of the great privileges of doing dean responsibilities is not grading papers. So I'll kindly pass. I just wanted to make sure I was understanding, what was being communicated there. So anyway, yeah. Thank you.
Sure, I appreciate it, and thanks for pointing out that that was difficult to understand without the. There should be two. It should be art and art. So art in the loop project, that should be a separate line as well, Porter, if you don't mind. There you go.
While Porter's struggling through the communication part of this, for those of you who don't know me, I also work with emergency management, and I was recently asked what is my major concern in emergency management these days about floods or fires or tornadoes or this or that. And after thinking about it a little while, what really stood out for me is mental health. And for those of you who don't know, if you go to the coronavirus hub for Douglas County, there is an app called My Strength, which is a wonderful app. It's free to Douglas County residents, and you put in Douglas County to get in free. But it helps in a very gentle way with mental health things. But the reason I bring this up is that I think under the community impacts, loss, sense of loss, all of that's there, but the amount of stress that we are all under right now, and it puts everybody like on a very fine edge. And having the grace to be patient with people when they're on that edge, with yourself when you get to that edge, but then also having a way to deal with that. And for me, music is a huge, huge part of calming down. And for other people, being able to create art or to just see art is another way of calming down. And those of you who've been through art education, whether it's music or visual art education, know that there are those specific different fields where people are trained to use art and music as a way to help heal folks in whatever situation they happen to be in. So I think that is another way we can look towards this. And as we are doing this, we might want to involve folks from the mental health community in this as well, as far as the brainstorming goes, somebody from Burt Nash or whoever, but it might be good to hear that voice as well.
That's a great point. I mean, I'm really glad you brought that up. I've seen firsthand, in fact, very recently, some folks that I know to be generally, not particularly anxious people, but just under this continued stress. I have friends who are really, we're all struggling, but I have some friends who are really feeling this, and I can tell that it's weighing heavy on them. So I appreciate you bringing up the mental health aspect of this, because I think it's very real during the pandemic. And to your point, the arts have a way, whether it's music or poetry or whatever visual forms, really have a way of providing comfort, I think, for folks when they are feeling out of sorts, and so forth. So thanks for bringing that up, and we should definitely add that to the list.
Yeah, I want to agree too. I think oftentimes, in visiting with my employees, I've noticed a good deal of stress and friction between folks who can't communicate face to face, who don't have that being able to communicate using those nonverbal indicators and such, and I think it becomes like a friction and a stress and something else that people can attribute to something else, when really it's that isolation or that distance. So yeah, I agree. Kate is spot on with that everybody's isolated and struggling to find means of connection in some way, and it's stressful to not, as social beings. And so that's a very, very, very good point, Kate. Thank you for bringing that up.
So Porter, with respect to our normally scheduled time for that, is it the last Tuesday of the month that we normally do?
I don't remember for sure what we ended up. We've done it at different times, and
but we can just pick. It's not like people are searching for that last Tuesday spot.
No, it used to be. It started out being 7 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday, and then it changed to being by 4 o'clock in the afternoon on a Tuesday, on the fourth Tuesday at 4. And then it went to being 5 o'clock. And so now we're just kind of back and forth.
So we can pick.
Pick.
I think early on when we talked about this, some folks were concerned whether or not we should even mess with with doing it. I think we've honed in on a topic that would be nice to, if we wanted to restart it or even just hold a one-off. I think there's value in doing that. So I guess what I'm putting out to you all is when, you know, how soon, and are there any ideas about a moderator? I'll just put that out to you all.
I think it usually takes a few weeks. So if we did want to move on it end of September or first week of October, that time frame might be nice, because then you can pick your guests and get people to think about the issue. Would it be, so I like the idea of doing a Zoom format. Would the idea be that it would be a conversation with maybe 4 guests, and then, you know, other people could come in and comment and be part of it? Like, it would be panel oriented, or more like culture chat where it was a big circle and people were contributing? I guess I would just try to figure out if we wanted a structure to that, and maybe that's up to the moderator how to do it. But we might want to have like 3 or 4 staple people in there. And I think, you know, based on the conversation where Mary and Steve and Margaret came to talk to us, there was so much great information in that sharing that might be a good springboard. Like, it was great to identify the problems, you know, that all the cultural organizations are feeling. But now can we brainstorm some solutions and way that we can get together as a group to self-advocate for the arts and find creative ways to, you know, get through the pandemic?
Marlo, that sounds like, I like the panel idea with a moderator. And it sounds like maybe your panel starter kit are, we could consider those folks who from those organizations as panel members. I don't know, just put that out.
So I think if you do that, if you take that approach, then, you know, maybe, you know, the next month, or, you know, maybe you don't wait a month, have more of the typical culture chat where people who maybe sat in and listen to the panel could then discuss it. Because I think that's where there's a lot of value to me.
Maybe it's like 20 minutes, you know, for a little bit of a panel discussion, and then it opens up to the group. And then it's more casual conversation. Sometimes Zoom, I find it's hard to pull people in that may not voice their opinion usually, you know, so I think like where it's easier for moderators to make eye contact with somebody and draw them in. So there might just be some ways creatively in the chat, like if someone isn't comfortable voicing a question, they could even put it in the chat and it can be addressed that way.
I've been through a couple of different sessions on several different topics where the moderator or the panel would lead kind of a introduction or talk about the issue, and then you broke up and you did separate groups, and then you came back together. And having those separate groups was really helpful, especially if you did it more than 2 or 3 times. You got to know those people, and you got comfortable just talking with 3 or 4 other people. So that might be another thing. Whoever's moderating, though, has to be able to do that activity.
I like that idea for the follow-up. For sure. Once we've maybe established some focus areas or whatever, you could have folks split off and do that. I like that. So yeah, you can submit. There's a chat feature, right, on Zoom, so people could submit questions that way. I've seen people do it via text and all that kind of stuff, but I think it's fairly simple on Zoom to submit questions that way. If people were afraid to, you know, be on the spotlight part of the Zoom call or whatever and ask the question, they could do it that way. So I like that. Mary, do you think you and the group that presented, do you think you folks, not to volunteer you for anything, but do you think you folks might serve as panel members for the first one? And I like the idea of keeping that first panel kind of short and hitting on some maybe preconceived, you know, sort of questions from the moderator or whatever, just to get the ball rolling, and then open it up for 30 minutes or however long folks want to, you know, really want to talk and brainstorm and so forth. But
I think Margaret and Steve and I are always ready to talk. So I think if you can speak for me, I'll speak for them. And I think the three of us started trying to join forces because we do think the situation is so important and so serious right now that I think that this would be a great forum to involve other people. I think I've been involved in some national panels recently, and it seems that so often they try and put together a panel and get everybody to submit the questions in advance. And then whether you are a part of the panel or watching the panel, there's a certain amount of frustration, I think, if there isn't more involvement with the other people. So I think if we have a moderator and the three of us could maybe act as a springboard, but then I would hope that we would encourage everybody to participate in some way, because I think that the best ideas often come out of that give and take. And sometimes if you just listen and then come back a couple weeks later, some of that dynamism has kind of eroded and you've kind of lost the flow. So for whatever that's worth.
I agree completely with Mary, and I'll try to be clear about what the sessions were like that I participated in. The people would speak about whatever the topic was, and then they would break everybody out into these smaller groups with a question or idea or a topic to discuss amongst themselves, and it was timed, and whoever's moderating it has control of that. Little thing comes up and says, you've got 30 seconds left. That smaller group talks about that issue, whatever it happens to be, and then comes back and one of them shares that with the bigger group. So you get a close, comfortable session with a few people, and then you get to share with the big group. And like Mary was saying, that's one place you get these fabulous ideas. So I would go back to the idea of having a big, a big screen, everybody there, a few people talking, and then everybody getting broken off, then coming back again to the big screen, and one person from each group sharing that information all in the same day rather than spreading it out. And one last thing, Jerry, I want to hear from our new members.
All right. I would like to hear from them too. I want to ask you one question about your proposal, because I think it's very intriguing. And, I like to have a picture in my brain of how it's going to work. So that split off part, if we were in the gymnasium, in a big group, and we could all run to corners and work in our problem and then bring it all back together, I get that picture here. How does it work in this virtual thing? Are there separate Zooms or?
There's different, you go to different chat rooms, and whoever the moderator is sets up the chat rooms, and they will just do willy-nilly, who's ever there. So, for me, I could do the top line, the second line, the third line, the fourth line. You guys are all in one chat room, and then you're all brought back. The moderator has control of that. Whoever's running the meeting has control of that. Okay, great.
It doesn't surprise me that is a thing that's available, but I haven't seen it. So
yeah, I know at least for our the Art Center board meetings, Margaret has done that and broken us off in kind of pre-established groups based on who has attended. So she's got some experience with that, and I find it works really well. And having that smaller group just have I think in 3 or 4 people having conversations amongst themselves, and then sharing that back out. And I haven't done it myself, but having done that with the board, it is really effective and really helpful.
So jumping on top of you, Joshua, the city knows how to do this, because when I went through the strategic planning, one of their sessions, they did it. So Porter, you should have complete knowledge of what I'm talking about.
I know that Diane does, and I know that she
and I worked together to get that set up, and she could certainly tell me how they did it and figure all that out. So it's doable.
Okay, great.
I think.
All right, new members. Any thoughts on this this idea that we're kicking around today?
I was just gonna say, how would you pick exactly who would be on the panel, or who exactly would be involved with the culture chat? Like, I mean, I know with the strategic plan, you're just trying to glean information from, it seemed like, as many sources as possible. So is that sort of a similar approach with this culture chat then?
Yeah. So as far as participation goes, the culture chat is open to everyone. We're just kind of brainstorming here tonight on how the format of that. It doesn't normally have a moderator and a panel and so forth, but because this topic is it is what it is, and really has kind of come about from some leaders in the art institutions of Lawrence coming to this group and sharing with us their situation. That's sort of born the topic for us for a culture chat. And so I was just suggesting, or actually maybe I could blame it on Marlo because she brought the idea first, that the first panel, or the panel for that, in fact, might consist of those folks. So the head of the Art Center, the head of Theater Lawrence, the Watkins, and possibly we could also throw in Americana, because they sort of came in at the end with that group. So if we had 4 panelists, maybe it would be that. It's just an idea. We could have, commissioners from here. I mean, we can pick whoever we want. It's our wagon, so we get to pull it how we like. So
well, and I'll just say that we've upgraded our Blackboard access and content and everything at Haskell. And in some of those training sessions that we've put faculty and staff through, it really kind of works well with a panel because you can designate a speaker, somebody maybe among Mary or Margaret or whomever, to do the majority of the speaking, while someone else maybe responds to chat questions and responds to those things and doesn't let those questions or those inquiries go unanswered. And so, having that team approach is really kind of helpful if the panel is all kind of on the same page or if the one panel designated to answer questions in the chat for everybody doesn't have an answer, then that person can bring it up in that larger conversation and such too. So it really can be an effective format if done well like that.
okay, Jordan or Sarah, any thing from you guys?
This might have been.
Want to make sure we give you guys a chance to speak. So
yeah, this might have been mentioned already, but I'm just like jotting down notes. So the panelists would be talking about some of the institutional, big issues with COVID and how that's affecting their institutions, the community, and everything. But my question is, since we are moderating breakout rooms for community discussion, what are the meetings going to propose a specific question that we're seeking to brainstorm answers around, or is it just free range kind of thing?
Yeah, so I think we would want to have some, like on the list that we had up earlier. I think we would want to have some sort of points that that at least kick off the discussion. I don't want to limit it in any way. And in fact, I'm glad your question is a really good question, because one thing that we don't want, earmuffs, Mary, is we don't want it to seem like we're creating a stage for those organizations to stand up and focus the conversation on their situation. Not that their situations aren't part of this this bigger community thing, but it's not and I'm not suggesting they would use it for that, because in fact I'm suggesting they would be great folks to have, because they're so connected, and in fact they've approached us together, as Mary said. So, but to your point, I think we would want it to, so I've heard a couple things. We don't want canned, not organic, dynamic sort of things. We really want folks to brainstorm and have ideas that apply beyond just the institutions that might be led by the folks on the panel. But those folks know our arts community as well, as anybody. So I think they're a good choice to at least to talk about having them be panel members. But I think that what we would have is, and this is just in my mind, maybe from so many scientific conferences that I've been to, but the moderator would kick off with, we would have a couple of questions that sort of lead the short panel discussion down some of the path of discovery of what we can do in the situation, and then really just have that be the sort of the engine to get the discussion going with questions brought in from whoever is attending the culture chat. So it would literally, at least in my mind, I'm thinking it would just be the spark for the discussion.
Okay, that does clarify things quite a bit, because with having panelist specific questions, I think we run the risk of the meetings more being about fine tuning the panelists' ideas rather than just throwing ideas on the board and seeing what sticks later in small groups. One other thing that I wrote down in my notes was, will there be space in the culture chat meetings for community input generating new opportunities for events? Like, I know that and I really wish the paper was up right now for reference, but so some of the negative impacts of COVID were, the risk of job insecurity, but especially event insecurity, or just lack of events and opportunities. So I'm wondering if the culture chats will have space for community input for, how can we create new innovative events, I guess, kind of like the storefront windows thing.
Yeah, you're in fact, this is really sort of what the embodiment of the culture chat was when we started it, was to get folks to come in and propose idea. I mean, we've actually had events that were generated because of ideas that came in from folks participating in the culture chat. So yeah, you're tuning right into the crux of what the purpose of the whole culture chat thing is. So that's great. Good input. Yeah, thanks. Sarah, any thoughts?
Yeah, so I was, so when discussing about panels, and I love what Jordan said about the worries about it being institutionalized, because I do feel that panels come across as being fairly institutional. And the art community as a whole has always been a mixture of these institutions that uphold the community as well as these independent artists. I think a great way to do that is either through expanding a panel and having, because I know we've been talking a little bit about having just a handful, but making it larger and allowing for community members to be a part of this panel. And I think maybe like a more seminar style structure might be more effective. I don't know, I'm just thinking of thoughts. I really like Kate's idea of splitting off into small groups through the different chats. Because I do think that allows us to get into small groups and to allow for the brainstorming aspect that the culture chat is really about. And I think on top of that, like having a panel that is more than just a handful of institutions, but also including a handful of independent artists that want to be community advocates, and having a moderator to kind of deal with the discussion as well and generate questions might help us create a better cultural forum to get more than just the art centers.
I think it's great. Porter, I think we're blessed. I think we've got 3 great new additions to this commission. Those are all really good inputs, you all. I really appreciate that. So I hear that idea and it resonates with me. I mean, maybe we have an institutional rep for the panel, an independent artist of, maybe, yeah, I agree. I think maybe that's, maybe we mix it up a little bit, or maybe 2, or, however we can get folks to sign up for it. But I love that idea because it'll bring different perspectives and more representation of the arts and culture community. So I love that idea. Thanks.
Jordan has something to say. Do you not?
So just with the conversation kind of turning towards who would be the panelists, institution versus private versus, all of the different sectors of the arts and culture community in Lawrence. I'm wondering if we need to think about how to incorporate diverse voices. One of the biggest concerns I have with institution versus private versus, is I'm worried about leaving people out, leaving significant artists and, leaving significant artists in our communities out who might not typically be a part of. I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought. But like, especially with this past summer being so focused on, racial justice and just the different forms of social justice, I'm wondering if we need to discuss how we're bringing in community panelists, or if that's something that's possible, or if that's something we need to be encouraging in those breakout rooms in Zoom. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely. We're interested in being mindful of, I mean, it's been a double whammy this summer, right? And for sure, we should be inclusive when we go to choose our panelists and maybe moderator too.
Maybe panelists and more participant driven.
Yeah, that might be a better word. Yeah.
I think that a lot of times if we just broadcast, the event out, we just kind of say, oh, we're inclusive, we're not going the extra mile. So if we, each of us here, there's 10 of us or 9 of us, if we each reached out to 3 or 4 people, hey, that's 36 people, and let's all be mindful of not just getting the same kinds of people, but really getting a diverse representation, reaching out and bringing them into the party.
Yes. So what you just said about reaching out, that brings me to another really important question that I'm surprised I didn't ask earlier. How are we advertising or marketing the culture chat to people so that, the community actually knows to tune in, to log in or anything? Is it mostly word of mouth? Is it mostly social media? How are we getting the word out exactly? Have we discussed that yet?
I can chime in. This is Porter Arneill. Basically, we're talking about two different
times because we haven't done culture chat in quite a while. So how we used to do it is, one is that city has a MailChimp email list. So anybody interested in arts and culture can sign up for that list. So we send out a notification to that list, and that includes anybody interested in the Cultural Arts Commission as well. We have a Facebook page dedicated to Lawrence Arts and Culture that we would post there as well. And then to Marlo's point, encourage all of the Cultural Arts Commissioners to help get the word out through their channels. Obviously, you know, we have Theater Lawrence, the Arts Center, and others that they can get the word out to folks. Part of the challenge here too that I'm hearing is, you know, what's a good time and day? That's always one of the bigger challenges.
Yeah.
Of, you know, if you do it in the morning, you get some people. If you do it in the afternoon, you get other people. And we went back and forth and tried different things there. I'm also hearing, you know, trying to strategically set up the initial culture chat, or this new format, whatever it is, but having others as well. And so I think maybe putting together 2 or 3 meetings so that we're, you know, hitting all these different really great points of how are we going to do all this, and give ourselves some time to, there's a learning curve here doing it in Zoom because we haven't done this before. So, but no, I love, all these are great ideas. It's reminding me of there was a great program in Colorado many years ago, and it was this very unique sort of museum-like institution in a mall. And one of the things they did was called mixed taste. And it was really done on kind of a lark, where I think the first 2 speakers they brought in, one was like a butcher, and the other one was a candle maker. And they just talked. And then they started putting all sorts of different people together that seemingly had nothing in common, but amazingly, as they started talking, they discovered a lot of commonalities. So I love the idea of, you know, don't just think about arts and culture necessarily. Who else might sit on a panel? You know, I mean, this is one of the great things about where we are now is all bets are off. You know, we don't know how long this is going to last. We've all adapted to this new way of being. I was joking the other day, we're no longer in new normal. We're in now this is normal. And so what do we do with that? And this is really exciting. And this is where the Art Commission, you know, can take strides in moving forward in a unique way. Did that answer your question? I got on my soapbox a little bit, sorry.
Porter, I just wanted to say that I think you beautifully described the importance of diversity and specifically intersectionality in any kind of public meeting, you know, with the candle maker and et cetera, and you're putting together people who have no visible commonalities because you do come up with better questions and better bonding over newfound commonalities. And I think that's a really important consideration as to how we go about having intersectional panels or seminars, because this isn't just about people that we know bringing onto a panel, but people that are members of the community who enjoy arts and culture, are parts of arts and culture, and are not just those who we all happen to know because we are the privileged beings that are able to be at the board. And on top of that, also in the discussion of how with the culture chat, finding out different times, because different times means that we'll get different groups. I think we should embrace that. I think that, what this means is having a culture chat that is recurring and is not always at the same time, because we should value the fact that we will get different voices and different faces based off of who was able to be there, and what availability they would normally have. This means that we would probably have more voices from those who might work odd jobs and also be artists. We might have more voices from those who are frequently working and have odd hours. And those are very, very important when considering the arts community of Lawrence. because it's a lot more than the educational arts community. It's a lot more than the arts community of coming out of KU. We have a really vibrant art culture, and it goes beyond races and classes, genders, and et cetera. And, you know, having emphasizing intersectionality, I think, like Jordan mentioned, we definitely should consider how we would advertise a little bit more. The MailChimp is a really great starting point. And I think that we can consider, you know, maybe even moving to like social media, because that's how you get more younger voices these days. You know, having that concept of advertisement, and also having those meeting times at different times, so we just kind of get everybody that we can.
Can I just say how wonderful it is to have our new commissioners. This is great. This is a horn I've been tooting on all sorts of committees and boards, and I do like the comment about intersectionality, because when Kate was talking about mental health, I was thinking about the agricultural communities that I've been involved with who serve mental health issues a great deal, and how much they've approached us, even at the Lawrence Cultural Arts Commission, and finding ways to incorporate art and that. But I did want to respond as well as what I think what was wonderful about Margaret, Mary, and Steve's presentation and everything is that they're able to what I think is important about their input and other kind of institutional input is that they can provide like a bird's eye view, like a larger economic impact as they employ artists. The artists who are suffering, they employ, and they hear those stories, and they know who we need to hear from in a lot of ways. And the job of a moderator is to get others to speak. So I think the inclusion of others is absolutely important, so that those who the Art Center doesn't employ, or Watkins doesn't employ, or Theater Lawrence doesn't employ, we're still hearing those stories as individual artists as well, and so they certainly need to be at the table, and those moderators ought to be deferring to their voices, because otherwise they're not heard. They're not heard by those executive officers who hear them on a daily basis, how hard it is to be an artist in the community, because they're hearing from dozens and dozens and dozens of them. You know, like I say, I think about all of the Native artists here in Lawrence who do work that doesn't fit the mainstream norm that we find in Lawrence, and in, I don't know, the entire United States for that matter, and how that impacts them. They've suffered a great deal as powwows and festivals. As many of you know, the Haskell art market, Indian art market, is, as far as I've heard, not happening this year, and that was one of the greatest, most significant events that we have at Haskell. That is not going to be going on, I don't think. If I hear otherwise, I'll share that. But you know, I love hearing our new commissioners' input on all of this, making sure everybody's at the table, and that our moderators, and I know they will, have that bird's eye view so that they can provide data, they can provide information, but we also need everybody at the table so that we can hear all those anecdotal stuff. What's happening to you in particular, or to your arts community who might otherwise be overlooked? And I know Mary, Margaret, and Steve, and whoever else might moderate in the future, and you know, I can name a number of them, who can make sure those voices have a space to be heard in this culture chat. So I just wanted to add that, and thank you all for your comment.
It's great. So Porter, can I put you on the spot to, do you have any ideas about a moderator or anyone who you think might be, that we might want to approach?
Not off the top of my head, and I think I need more information about what they'd be doing, unless you're indicating that I could do it.
Oh, no, I was not suggesting that you would volunteer for that, Porter. No, Kate, go ahead.
So in the past, we had a committee that worked on the culture chat, and it might be time to raise that committee back up again and have them work on this and kind of refine this a little bit more with Porter, come up with a plan. What do you think?
I like it. I think it's an opportunity for some of our new members to
just dive right into a committee and engage. So I love the idea, Kate.
So would we just be emailing Porter with our interest with that, or?
Yeah, so we'll, Porter will, yeah, so that's one thing that you'll learn in how we do the email thing, because you can't send an email to everybody in the group or it starts to look like a meeting, and we have there's the rules about public meetings and so forth. So we've done it all different ways. We could say right here, right now, we could say, I volunteer for it, I volunteer for it, I volunteer for it, and we can write down names, and Porter can then send out an email to those folks, and everyone can figure out dates where they can meet and everything. Or you could, after the meeting, you could individually send emails to Porter. It's probably easier just to get it checked off while we're here.
Yes, please.
Yes, please. Okay, so volunteers.
Say your name if you want to. Say your name. You got to speak.
Oh. My name's James. I'll volunteer for it.
Okay.
Jordan Martinez, I'll volunteer.
Jordan.
Sarah Curry, I'll volunteer.
All right. Like it.
The new ones.
Marlo, I saw your hand was up.
Yes, I'm happy to do it, or I'm happy to make space if it's too big of a group, but it'd be fun.
How much do you have to love 3 first meeting commissioners who just throw their hands up and say, let's go?
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
I think it was about a year before I volunteered for anything.
I've been on for years and years. I haven't volunteered for anything, I don't think.
So I will not. I'll step aside and let you all do it. Although I'm interested, so
I look forward to hearing how it goes. Anybody else feel strongly that they want to participate in that group?
I'm happy to be part of it as one of the people who instigated Culture Chat, but I don't need to be, and I'm gone. Like I said, I'm gone in December, so. Whatever, just let me know.
Well, Kate, would you want to sit on there, considering your history, would you want to sit on there at least until we get it kicked back off?
That's fine. Yep.
Yeah, it would be a good idea to have somebody who's pretty well connected, I think, just because from my perspective, I don't know all the big names yet. So that'd be really helpful, especially if we're deciding panelists and moderators, So thank you.
All right.
So just to be clear, I will schedule a near future Zoom meeting.
With these people to serve on this committee that will take what we've talked about this evening and start putting together 3 meetings, 3 culture chats moving forward, and start to, coalesce what these things will be and just get a little clearer on what we're going to do? Is that okay?
Sounds
But
awesome.
I also want to just mention one thing. I know as a cultural arts commission, we often focus on the arts, but not as much sometimes on the cultural component of that, which is why I was really thrilled to see Steve Novak participate, in that presentation. And I just want to emphasize, those other cultural organizations like the Watkins and others might be overlooked if we don't make a concerted effort to include them and think of them in the conversation too. So, I just wanted to speak to that and make sure that we're consciously engaging those historians and organizations and literary folks too. I mean, the Paper Plains Literary Festival was going to kick off and do an amazing job this spring, but was unable to. But they're going forward. They're going strong and hoping to rejuvenate in the coming years. So I just want to make sure we're including that cultural component as well as not exclusively or purely the arts. So just to say that.
Thanks, Joshua. Porter, do we have any? Do you have an update, or are we going to do any? Are there any committee updates?
Since we've been functioning under these unique circumstances with the pandemic and stuff, we really haven't been doing that sort of thing. I think this is great because we sort of were catching up, and then obviously Mary brought such an important topic way back in June. And so we're still in an evolutionary process with this whole pandemic and stuff. But I think this is a great stride forward. And yeah, what does the Art Commission do now under these circumstances? So I don't have anything else on the agenda at this point.
Neither do I. I'll open it for any miscellaneous topics that anybody would want to bring forward. None heard.
Wait.
Okay, you never disappoint.
I know. The second Saturday of the month I think they're changing the hours to 8 to 11 at the Art Emergency Building, 721 East 9th Street, behind the Dell 9 lofts. There's an art market, and any artist who wants to participate should get in touch with the Art Emergency folks, and you can have your wares available. It's just like the downtown farmers market, but artists, and it's outside, so socially distant, all that stuff. It's fledgling. It's just starting up. I think this will be the third month that they've done it.
Second Saturday, did you say?
Second Saturday of the month in the morning. So far, it may change as we get colder weather and all the rest of it, but just another venue for folks.
It sounds like a challenge to the Indian art market, Kate. I think you're
No,
barking
I
up
wish that were coming.
the wrong tree.
I wish it were coming.
I know, me too. Well, I haven't heard of definitively that it's not, but yeah,
Haven't seen any ads for it.
Yeah, they usually have banners up real quick.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to make a confession. I go to that for the food.
Well, at least you go to that. I have friends who hear the drums at powwow when we do powwows out there, and they don't come across. They feel all weird about it. Like, I don't know. I don't want to make all the Indians, I don't know, objects of your, spectatorship or something. I'm like, well, that's why we wear all our fancy stuff on those days. Yeah. Come watch us.
It's fantastic. It's not to be missed for sure.
That's where I buy all my jewelry, so you better get it back.
Yeah, exactly.
As soon as possible, for sure.
All right. Any other miscellaneous?
I do have a miscellaneous idea. I know we're getting close to closing time, but you said miscellaneous.
James, go ahead. This
Oh,
thing,
sorry.
this thing can run way longer. You're not wasting our time. So
all right. Well, I'm not trying to do that, but yeah, this is James, and you said miscellaneous, so I figured I'd throw it out there. But I've been seeing people do type of like live stream events, so like, which is pretty normal, but where they have like sort of like doing like yoga sessions or like self-help talks or like creative writing workshops. I was thinking we could use a type of remote or virtual live stream venue like that to generate funds if we had like maybe if Theater Lawrence had some people doing stuff for a segment or Lawrence Arts Center does a segment. Just, again, throwing it out there, but just an idea to another venue to generate funds for those institutions.
Thank you, James. This is Mary, and we have been doing some streaming. The problem that I think we run into, and probably the Arts Center as well, is that there is so much available online right now to stream or download or listen to or be a part of for free that it's very difficult to charge for it right now. Because we've got, if anybody wants to stream, we've got great cameras, we've got all the setup, we've got everything but an audience willing to pay.
Perhaps if we, again, just throwing it out there, but maybe if we put it under like an umbrella of like a Lawrence live stream event and then advertise it that way. So it would be like working together with like different institutions under one event and then having it advertised as such. But again, just an idea. But
no, it's a good idea, and it's actually quite appropriate for what we're talking about for the culture chat. I mean, if you can envision some, sort of umbrella streaming thing that organizations could participate in, where the capturing of funds for attendance or whatever sort of happened through the thing, I think that's for sure the exact kind of thing that we want to be talking about in the easy for me to say, culture chat.
This is Mary again. Yeah, James, I think your idea is really good, and I think the more we can all work together, the stronger we're going to be. And one of the reasons that Margaret and Steve and I got together originally was not so much for our own organizations, but to raise awareness for all the arts, because the arts are the second most touched segment of the US population when it comes to impact from the virus. We're only behind the hospitality industry. So it's sort of all of us together, and we've got to help each other or we're all going to suffer.
And I think what we've struggled with before is getting the advocacy piece and having one voice. So I think this culture chat is the perfect vehicle for that, right. Getting all those minds together and having one common message that could be out into the world, because the squeaky wheels, man, it really helps to get funding when you can really get your voice out there.
Yeah, I wonder if there's not a bridge between the challenge to monetize and kind of maybe the free things that are available out there. Mm-hmm. If there's not some lateral or strange, awkward little way of looking at it where, smaller free pieces are available that entices or brings folks into reasonably priced, maybe lesser priced items than what you would typically charge, or I don't know how that structure might work, but if there's some creative minds at the culture chat that can kind of wrap their heads around, a brand new way of thinking about things. I just mentioned this because my faculty are teaching painting remotely now, and they're figuring out ways through cameras and mailing kits and videoing and having lectures, and there's a lot of great ideas, and I'm not the dude who knows those or can come up with those. But I think there are some folks out there, especially some of these younger folks who are out in our community who have some really great ideas and creative minds that can find a way to link free with monetary and other ways of making that kind of sustainable. You know, something that not only goes to get us through this period, but also can continue on in the future to be an enhancement for what are ultimately live events that they can go see and engage with personally.
I had a quick question going off of that. Does the Lawrence community currently have any plans or any like COVID grant money opportunities or COVID relief funding for artists in the community, or is that something we still need to develop?
So funny you should ask. I just had this idea. I need to make sure that we have this, but Porter, these meetings are recorded, right? And people can go back and watch old ones.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm just going to recommend, because I know you all have so much free time, but the three of you, if you go back and look at the last three meetings, was it the June one where the institutions came and presented to us?
I actually have that in my notes that I need to send them the link to that meeting. And actually, if you remember, I think we broke out each of their presentations into individual videos, so I can send the links for all of that.
Yeah, and that if you all would watch that, you'll actually see the progression of how what we're talking about tonight sort of came to be. And in that meeting, in those meetings, there were discussions about what funds were available through the county and the state and CARES and all of that type of stuff, all that background, and really a lot of financial information that Mary and the others put together to share with us. And it was quite eye-opening,
at least for me. I had no idea. And so I think if you have the time to go back and watch those, it'll just demonstrate to you sort of how this whole topic came to be. So,
well, and I think it'll emphasize the spark funding is what it was called, I believe, that the county was applying for due to the economic impact on local businesses and organizations and such. So that was money granted to the state to distribute by county to counties based on population and all of the negative economic impact that has occurred as a result. And so I don't know that time has passed. I know we've received CARES funding at Haskell in several different increments. And so maybe the Sparks funding is the same way, where we can maybe fine tune or hone in on some of those who may have not been responded to in the first go round. And so I'm not sure about that, but Spark funding through the state of Kansas is that funding mechanism, I believe.
Well, if I can jump in, there are a couple different avenues here. The CARES funding was the money that was allocated through the city and through the county. And those recommendations have already gone in, and those are in the process, supposedly, of being approved by the state right now. There is some money coming to the arts through those monies. There was also some money available briefly through the KCAIC that has already been allocated. And now the Sparks funding is in the process of being reviewed. And I think they've closed the application process, but they have not announced the allocations for that money yet.
Porter, isn't there a website on the county page about to give people information, even though most of it's closed. I think it's all closed, but it would be a good thing to share with the new guys on the block about how all that funding, it explains it pretty well. If people really wanted to get into it, if you know what that is. If not, I'll see if I can find it.
Well, if you just go to the Douglas County, Kansas webpage, there's a hub for the coronavirus, and links to all of these different things, I think, are through that too. And Jordan, since you asked the question, are you familiar with rocket grants?
No.
So actually, Christina could probably speak to this too, because the Spencer is involved in that program as well. And even though they're based in Kansas City, they are also very much interested in helping Lawrence artists. And I know that they had some emergency funding opportunities. I think that's passed as well. But Christina, can you help me on that?
It was called Rocket Relief.
Rocket.
And I know there was one round of initial funding, and I think a second round either has come and gone or is still open. So that's definitely something to look at. Charlotte Street Foundation and the Andy Warhol Foundation and the Spencer. The funding comes from Andy Warhol, but then Charlotte Street and the Spencer are the ones who distribute the funding based on call for artists proposals. So it is like a spark money for artists, but that's definitely something to look into.
Okay.
And it funds a certain area beyond Kansas City that does include Topeka and Lawrence. So it's sort of this area, this immediate area.
Okay.
I was just about to make 16 Andy Warhol jokes, but I'm gonna refrain because as I found out just a little bit ago, this is recorded.
But no, thank you for bringing that up, because that is another good resource for artists.
Well, and one of the things that I'm that's kind of stuck in my brain is those are all relief organizations and grants and funding that are countywide or slightly outside of Lawrence. I'm wondering if we can't turn this into an opportunity to start a Lawrence specific relief fund that might be adjusted after COVID, gets itself sorted out, into more of a communal, not hedge fund, that's not the right word, safety net for local artists, even after COVID. Just this probably won't be the only economic crisis to hit our art sector in the next 10, 15, 20 years. So it might be a good time to get something like that started for Lawrence. So I'll be looking into those resources that you that everybody recommended, and I'll do a little bit more digging research wise. But thank you.
Good stuff. Love it. All right. Anything else before we adjourn?
I say thank you to our newbies for joining. I love your energy. I love your focus, your determination, your questions. And I think the arts and culture in Lawrence is in good hands if the next generation is anything like you guys. So thank you so much for joining, and I'm excited about it. With that, I make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
All right. All in favor?
Do a roll call, please. Do a roll call.
Okay. Jerry, aye. Mary?
Aye.
Christina?
Aye.
Denise?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
Jordan?
Aye.
Kate?
Aye.
James?
Aye.
Joshua?
Aye.
That would be unanimous, Porter.
Excellent.
All right. Thanks, everyone. And we'll talk to you all soon. Have a good evening.